Hello, my name is Alejandro. I am a sophomore in petroleum engineering, and my research project pertains to illicit gold supply chains in Peru. My mentor is Dr. Nicole Smith. Kind of briefly summarizing the abstract, Peru's illicit gold supply chains are becoming a growing issue, yet there are no organized transactional records of these supply chains. Overall, the research is attempting to contribute to a better understanding of these illicit gold supply chains through building a systems dynamics model in order to capture the structure of the gold supply chains. We're hoping to formalize the connections between systems components and highlighting the feedback loops. An investigation was made into Bolivia's involvement and contribution to Peru's illicit gold supply chains, as well as Bolivia's own illicit gold supply chains. And overall, the goal of this project is to find methods to disrupt these illicit gold supply chains. Now, kind of looking at the background of this research project, Peru is the world's sixth largest gold producer, and that's partly fueled by illegal gold mining in Madre de Dios. Now, this research project pertains a lot to the ASGM sector because we see a lot of illegal gold mining in the ASGM sector, which is artisanal small scale gold mining. And a lot of the reason why there's a lot of illegal gold mining in Peru is because alluvial gold mining is illegal in Peru. So we see a lot of illegal gold mining along the rivers in Madre de Dios, which Madre de Dios has a lot of rivers because it's on the Amazon. Now, an estimated 1/3 of Peru's gold exports are illegal source. So this shows that this is a big problem, and a lot of the gold that's produced in Peru is done illegally. Now, why is this an issue? Illegal coal mining has a lot of major environmental impacts, such as deforestation, mercury pollution. There's been a few studies that show elevated mercury levels in a lot of the fish and the people who live along the rivers. And also there's a lot of organized crime that comes along with illegal gold mining, such as human trafficking, drug smuggling, and child labor, etc. And this is because a lot of the illegal gold dealers and smugglers also smuggle humans, drugs, and you employ child labor. Now, what are the research goals of this project? Ultimately, we want to build a systems dynamic model that encapsulates the structure of these gold supply chains in Peru, which we have worked on and we are almost done with. We are also conducting qualitative data collection and literature review in order to build the systems dynamics model. And with this qualitative data collection, we also find a lot of quantitative, which is very, very helpful as well. Ultimately, we want to formalize the connections among the system's components and highlight the feedback loops within the system. And doing so will allow us to find the criticalities and vulnerabilities within the system. And overall, building the system dynamics model, we want to understand better these illicit gold supply chains in Peru and methods to disrupt them. Now, as shown right here, we have a current share systems dynamics model, and current share is practically just a mining method used in the ASGM sector. It's very small, with only 2 people, sluices by the river, and as you can see, there are a lot of different components that go in, from the gas to the human labor to the mercury to the gold, the trading to the gold shop. And this shows there's a lot of components that deal with this, and a lot of methods that can be used to disrupt this model. And as shown in this one, we have the same model but under a flood scenario. So now we see that there's a lot of different effects on these components. And overall, we found that the flood scenario would reduce the production of the mines in certain months. And this was actually backed up by data that we found and we analyzed. So this shows that the system dynamics model is true to a certain point and does provide accurate results. Now, moving along, I worked on the investigation of Bolivia's contribution and involvement to Peru's illicit gold supply chains. And we knew that Bolivia is the main illegal mercury exporter to Peru and is actually the second largest mercury exporter in the world. And this is important because mercury is crucial for gold production in general, because it allows you to amalgamate the gold and be able to just capture the gold that you're trying to mine for. And this is very, very important for just gold production in general. So the mercury that comes from Bolivia actually comes from Mexico and undocumented. And this is because Bolivia has no import ban on mercury. And it is then, a lot of it is sold to Peru, which has an import ban on mercury. And this is problematic because even though Peru has an import ban on mercury, they still have a lot of elevated mercury pollution in the rivers, and a lot of the people have a lot of mercury poisoning as well. So this shows that there's, although there's a ban, there's still a lot of illegal activities going on that disrupts that ban. Now we can see that there's actually a lot of illegal gold trade between Peru and Bolivia, as shown in the map. We see the areas and rivers where a lot of illegal gold mining takes place. The country kind of in the middle is Bolivia, and we see that there's a lot of regions near the northwest, just in the western side, and the country to the left of it is Peru. And we see there's a lot of gold mining done on the eastern side. That's actually the Madre de Dios River, and those are the rivers that have a lot of illegal gold mining production in it. And this is important because it shows that a lot of illegal gold mining production takes place near the borders of the Peruvian and Bolivian border. So this is why it's so easy for them to trade the gold between each other, because they're relatively close to each other. Now, as seen in this, Bolivia is also complicit in illegal gold mining. And when I first started the investigation, I thought not so, because Bolivia has no ban on the illegal gold mining, whereas Peru does. And I thought this would basically mean a lot of Bolivia's gold mining would be formal, but it turned out not to be so, as shown on the map, because a lot of the miners mine in mining areas with no concessions in order to kind of bypass laws in order to just use more mercury, not abide by the regulations that they're supposed to. And this is also shown in the data on the left, because in the first 7 months of 2014, Bolivia exported 24 tons of gold despite only producing 4 tons. So this shows there's a 20-ton gold gap between the two countries. And this is very large because it's 6 times bigger than what they're producing. And also, on the bottom in the table, we see that there's a lot of trade between these two countries as well, especially in recent years, because before Peru had their crackdown on illegal gold in 2014, Bolivia exported around $116 million in gold, whereas after Bolivia had their crackdown on illegal gold, they exported around $1.185 billion in gold. And this is kind of shown in the next slide, because gold used to be smuggled from Bolivia to Peru in order to avoid taxes, but has since reversed after Peru's crackdown on illegal gold. And this is because a lot of the Peruvian illegal gold miners were not able to export that gold as easily because of the pressure by the Peruvian government, which is why they started sending it to Bolivia. And when both countries send the gold to each other, they actually formalize it and are able to export it legally, which is why we see these major gaps between the export versus the production between the two countries. Now, interesting things to note are gold dealers in Bolivia smuggle gold using motorcycles, mules, armored cars, etc., and supposedly never the same route. Gold dealers also use small aircraft because Peruvian law prohibits the military from shooting them down. And one problem with the small aircraft is they're only able to take around 200 kilos per flight because they're very small and light, but this shows the different methods and the different transportation vehicles they use in order to go smuggle the gold between the two countries and ultimately trade illegal gold between the two countries. Now, why is studying Bolivia important? Well, it contributes to the understanding of Peru's illicit gold supply chains, because we're able to see where Peru's illegal mercury is coming from, where their gold is being exported to. A lot of the stuff that makes up Peru's illicit gold supply chains, we can see actually comes from Bolivia. And it ultimately is going to add to the development of the systems dynamics model, because as shown before, we can use the data from this investigation and apply it to the systems dynamics model in order to see how Bolivia's contribution affects it and how disrupting Bolivia's contribution will ultimately affect it. And as shown below, this will potentially highlight the criticalities and vulnerabilities of the Peru's illicit gold supply chains. Now, future work is researching more quantitative data on Bolivia's contribution to Peru's illicit gold supply chains. And this is because although qualitative data is very useful and helpful, quantitative data allows us to quantify the reduction or increase that a certain scenario has on Peru's illicit gold supply chains. Other future work includes analyzing other neighboring countries' contribution to Peru's illicit gold supply chains, such as Colombia, Brazil, and Ecuador, because they also have major contributions to Peru's illicit gold supply chains. Another one is building systems dynamic models for other regions and mining methods. The systems dynamics model that we have built focuses on the Caranchara mining method and only in the Madre de Dios River areas, right? And this would be helpful because we can use this model to apply to other regions and other mining methods, potentially even other countries such as Bolivia. Lastly, it's just applying the quantitative and qualitative data that we found to the systems dynamics model in order to find and formalize these connections and ultimately be able to disrupt the illicit gold supply chains in Peru. That is it for my presentation. Thank you all for coming, and goodbye.